Penn State should have some serious goals in this Rutgers game. It's not about just winning and trying to get to 10-2 in a New Year's Six Bowl at this point. You have a lot of internal things that you can accomplish against a team like Rutgers, who is respectable, will give you fits, will challenge you, but of course is still pretty vulnerable here. I think it starts and ends with Drew Allar. Allar and Nicholas Singleton, and in the same breath, have not had the season that we expected them to. So I am focusing on the two of them. You can't watch any of these Nittany Lion football games and tell me that it is not a confidence issue at this point. Allar and Singleton are both former five-star players, but the stats don't exactly back that up, right? Or like the game tape anyway. The game tape certainly doesn't. Nicholas Singleton's got a bunch of touchdowns. Drew Allar's got the 21 to 1 interception ratio, 21 touchdown to 1 interception ratio. My goal, the first thing that I'm checking off on this list is, can you get their confidence back up? Can you get them playing a level of football at a level of comfortability for this game, Michigan State, and then a really good opponent in the bowl game, because you are going to be tested there, and those guys can't opt out for the bowl game. They'd be silly if they were going to do that, since they have to come back next season, right? But Allar needs to find a way to build more confidence on the field. Look, I get the emotion, the blood, sweat, and tears that are poured into these practices, the seasons, and the games, but I just don't like hearing your quarterback is in tears or crying after the biggest games of the— I know he's a 19-year-old kid. I'm not the man in the arena. I'm not. I'm just a man on YouTube. But to Drew Allar, he's got to be a little more emotionally tough in this case. Caleb Williams, too. Same thing. It's okay to show emotion. It is okay to be upset, but it almost seems too much of a consistent theme here. Drew Allar's got to build some more toughness. He's got to build some more discipline. He's got to build some more confidence. And it's on the coaching staff to do just that. Give him simple completions. Start with the running game. You have Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen. There are no excuses. This offensive line is healthy. Everyone's available. It is the best group that they've had. So set up the run game. Get creative with it if you have to. Don't do the trick plays. I'm not talking about the razzle-dazzle, but add some wrinkles. Michigan just went to something completely different that wasn't on tape. Why not try it? Seriously, why not? Why not try something different that isn't on tape for Penn State to use to get the running game going, averaging 5-6 yards per carry, because Rutgers is not going to let them pass the ball successfully, and then use the play action to set up the tight ends. You have the running backs coach and the tight ends coach sharing play calling duties. Where do you think the football is going to go to? Some of the more talented players on this roster: Theo Johnson, Tyler Warren, Singleton, and Allen. You get my point. It's going to be a very basic vanilla game plan offensively, but I think less is more in this case. You need to get Allar and Singleton's confidence back where it should be, because they are playmakers. They are game changers, but I don't know that subconsciously they feel that way. They'll tell you, you're like, oh yeah, it's been tough, but our confidence isn't shaken. It's not the point. That's not the point in this case. They know that the underwhelming results have affected them in ways that you just can't. It's difficult to admit. Okay, that's just the point. That's just the fact of the matter here. My second thing is not having that hangover type of game. That's another big part of the checklist here. You don't want to fall into that trap like you almost lost against Indiana, or we've seen in the past, whether it coming off of an Ohio State game and then you lose to Michigan State, and then you lose to Ohio State again and you lose to Michigan State again, and then you come off of the Iowa game in 2021, you lose to Illinois. Rutgers can do those type of things and be that thorn in the side if you are not mentally tough. So a lot of these things have to go with not necessarily the X's and O's, but how Penn State is approaching this from a mental and emotional standpoint. They can't be mentally weak in this case. They can't, because then things go from bad to worse. Everyone's just anticipating that they're going to go 10-2 and walk into a New Year's Six bowl game. Michigan State's got nothing to play for. Rutgers has already hit its checklist. They have essentially nothing to play for. Yes, they do in terms of wins, in terms of confidence. I'm not talking about that. But Rutgers already has bowl eligibility. They reached their goals. Penn State's goals were shattered. How does a team do that now? How do they adjust not once but twice? because we saw them coming out of the Ohio State game. It wasn't exactly the prettiest performance against Indiana. They got bailed out by some good last second plays. But now you got to do it again. And this time it's truly over. There was never that window. There was never that presentation of like, look, you can save your season. Your season's not over, but it is in terms of what you had aspired to do. Same thing. Can you keep a level head and play Rutgers good enough to win this game and not just think about too much of what happened against Ohio State and Michigan? These are college football players. It is very difficult. As much as they like to say we don't look at the past, it's hard not to. Third thing on the checklist is it goes along with the offense too. This is an opportunity for J1 Seider and Ty Howle to really make a name for themselves. J1 Seider and Ty Howle. I don't know if Seider is going to be here depending on what move they make at offensive coordinator, but this is an opportunity for him to boost his resume and be a legitimate candidate for not only Penn State's job, but somewhere else. He's a former quarterback. He's been asked to coach the tight ends at other programs as well. He's got a multifaceted coaching background. If he can use these last 3 games and really put together some tape as a play caller in a short stint, this could be a nice setup for J1 Seider, whether it's at Penn State or somewhere else. I'm rooting for him regardless. I want him at Penn State. I'd like to see him continue to coach at Penn State in some sort of capacity, but ultimately I do want to see success out of him wherever he ultimately goes. And then Ty Howle to assume more responsibility here, former Penn State center, right? He played center when Christian Hackenberg was the starting quarterback. It's crazy to think, but now seeing Ty Howle grow as a coach as well. What can they do in this quick turnaround when an offensive coordinator is fired? And then we get an answer here. We get an answer to our question. Whose fault was it? Was it that overall the offense just is what it was? It just is what it is. Drew Allar is not quite where he needs to be. The wide receivers were an issue. And then collectively, the group could only be so good even with an elite defense. Or was Mike Yurcich that much of a problem that the game plan and the play calling was so abysmal that it held this group back? It is very difficult to know, but we get an answer one way or another because Rutgers, once again, top 30 against the run, top 5 against the pass. This isn't the easiest test in the world, but it does mirror the games against Iowa. Think of that one. Penn State won 31-0. Offense didn't look phenomenal, right? They scored 30. It was 31-0. I get that. However, the elite defense set them up with some easy opportunities. So you're able to pass that test when the questions are very easy.